Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer.
And I'm Thomas Doty.
And we are the FITT Show, helping our folks get their finances in shape. So good to see everybody today. It's a wonderful day to be in the land of the living. That's what my aunt used to always say. That's some morbid stuff. But it's a good day, Doty. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, man. Just looking for a wonderful show. We got another good show this week. This is our 173rd show, Thomas Doty. We on a roll. And last week's show was how to pick growth stocks. We hope that was helpful to you. And if you missed it or you have some questions, please go out there. You can look in our archives, go out there on Facebook, and you can go out on YouTube. They're out there archived. Just go under the title, How to Pick Growth Stocks. This week, we got a very important one because this time of the year is so important. It's the 2024 year in review. This may sound familiar for a lot of people, but there's some things that have changed and there's some things that haven't. But we need to remind you because we need to take care of these things because 2025 will be here and some of the opportunities that you can take advantages, if you miss them, you will not be able to do them for 2024 and 2025. So that's what our show is going to be about today. If you have any questions, remember, just got to give. I know I'm sort of redundant, but I just want to let y'all know that we are not fiduciaries. We're not licensed. Just need to get that disclaimer. And we want y'all to click on the like button and the actual heart button. That also helps us tremendously. In addition, we'd like for you to make this an interactive show. And how we do that is by you putting comments or questions or opinions in the comment box. And we will respond to them appropriately. So with that, we got the administrative things out the way. Note, how are you doing today?
Man, life is good. Rough day on the street today.
Oh, we don't want to hear that news.
Oh, man, yeah.
We were hoping, we were on a roll there for a minute there.
Not no more.
Well, let's get into it. You all, how we get to the top of this show is talking about the stock market update. So, let's go, without any further ado, let's just go ahead and give us the nose now.
Man, tough week. Really just a tough day. I mean, the week wasn't too bad. It's more or less the day that went ugly. And it kind of was unexpected. Microsoft and Meta both announced earnings. And both of them beat their earnings estimate, but they didn't beat by as much as the street would have liked. And a bigger issue was that all the big tech firms are talking about the money that's going into capital expenses for AI investment. And so that was kind of looked at negatively. And just the fact that, this is the NASDAQ has been on such a run with the tech stocks. Everybody's kind of getting a little nervous. So if you can see the S&P for the week, it's down almost 2%. NASDAQ the same. And you look at the stocks I hold, you see Microsoft went down 19 points. And most people look at that as disaster. I looked at it as opportunity. I went and bought another 100 shares of Microsoft. We'll see how that pans out. My new stock, Brady, went down just a little, down 2 points. Apple dropped 5 points. HP pretty much stayed flat. NVIDIA went down 8. And Google blasted their earnings. They had a wonderful quarter. And they went down today, but for the week, they're actually up 8 points. So we'll know a lot more tomorrow. There's some information that comes out tomorrow based on to let us know how we're doing in regards to inflation. And the thinking is that the numbers are going to be closer to the Fed's benchmark 2% inflation. And if that's the case, then we're rate cut will probably only be a quarter point. So it's just kind of interesting because the economy is looking very, very strong. Inflation is still scaring people, but the actual economy numbers are looking very, very strong. So there are actually people wondering if the Fed will indeed even cut interest rates a quarter point. So that's kind of the expectation, but we'll know more tomorrow. But as we always say, you got to hang through to the rough times, and hopefully things will get better shortly.
Well, though, listening, reading the papers and listening to out there on the net, the United States right now is the envy of the world because we leading in almost every category: GDP, gross domestic, inflation, unemployment. I mean, we're leading in so many things, and I'm hearing all this negative talk. Is I don't know if they're just trying to, protect itself for the downfall. But I don't think a 2% fall in the market is all that bad. I mean,
and I think the thing you got to remember though is that a lot of the people who look at these metrics and stocks and GDP and stuff like that are people who got a whole lot of money. And I think we lose track of how many people don't have money. There's a lot of people who are struggling with them, with prices going up, with rent payments being crazy, insurance payments being crazy. And they could care less about the GDP. They could care less about what the Fed is doing. It's their everyday life that's kind of jacked up. So yeah, the economy is still strong, and people who got money continue to make money. If you look at the year-to-date changes, I mean, all of them are positive. Everything is up year-to-date. So if you had money invested in the market, you're no less happy today than you were. You're a little less happy because it went down, but for the year, you still have done very, very well. And keep in mind, like even in the case of Microsoft, who does pay a dividend, that 8% change year-to-date does not include the dividend. Apple pays a dividend, Nvidia doesn't, and I think Google pays a smaller dividend. But again, folks who have money have made a whole lot of money. So,
and though it's just not the people who have money made money. I know people that were not big in the stock market, but they were big on not overspending, and they are not in major debt. I mean, yes, it's good to be in the market and to grow your assets. But I know a lot of people who just made good decisions and they make sure they didn't overspend, and they're doing sitting pretty well. Because like we say, if you manage your money correctly, it doesn't not correctly. That's not the right word. If you manage your funds, your money properly, it doesn't matter if it is election, or tsunami, or pandemic. The key is you will be able to withstand the future shocks. And there's several ways to do it. And those ways are actually, like I said, it's good to be in the stock market to grow it. But it also, if you can protect, and a lot of people don't, I know, just has a lot of debt. Matter of fact, Motor Steam put a comment out that she said, yeah, but the United States has a lot of debt. But what people don't understand, though, about that debt, our bonds are paying like, what, 2%, maybe 3%. That's low debt. I'd rather service that debt anytime. And that's why people are still trying to buy our bonds, because they know they at least can get a 3%. Other countries, they're at a negative. So don't let the debt thing fool you, because as long as we got the Federal Reserve, people don't understand. It's all about managing the debt. They kill me when we get to this debt conversation. But, that's another topic for another day. We're going to talk about the cryptocurrency market, man. Though the overall market is only up about 8%, but the Bitcoin is up 33%. Bitcoin is up from $68,156 to $70,422. That's $2,200 increase, 33% increase in Bitcoin. So some people should be doing pretty good. I mean, especially if you got in before the pandemic. Even if you got in after the pandemic, at this rate, you should be doing okay. It should be breaking.
I don't think your number's right though, Bob. That it ain't 33%.
You know, I looked. You know, Bill, I'm glad you said that because I looked at that and I ran that again, and that
Should be
was
around 4 or 5.
2266 into 68 156. I look, my bad eyes. I dropped.
3.3.
I dropped to zero. Good, good. Just just like a daggone accountant. I dropped to zero, dope.
There you go. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I looked at that too when I was talking. I'm like, wait a minute, but I say, thank you, dope. I dropped to 0.033, and I
Okay.
put 0.33. I put 0.33%. Thank you, but still $2,266. Not bad. Ethereum's down. Tether, the stable coin, is steady. Hasn't been going up or down. Let me see though. But as far as because the stable coin works a little bit different. It goes by volume. Let me see what stable coin is at though. Stable coin has been holding around about $120 billion worth. Is that right? Yeah, 100 billion. And the Dogecoin, hey, the Dogecoin is up 14%. Ooh. So, as we always say, this is a very speculative market. But if you're into Bitcoin, you should be a little bit happy today. Gold is up. Gold is up over 2,700. It was headed towards 3,000
Yeah,
an
that's
ounce.
because of all the fear in the marketplace right now.
Yeah,
It always rolls when there's fear.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Got me a couple of ounces. I'm looking
That's why you
good.
got to be diversified. That pushes. If you're diversified, something's always making you happy. You know, if you have enough irons in the fire, one of them will always be hot.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket, man. So that's good, dope. So, dope, let's talk about our subject for today. We're here again, dope. Can you believe this October is getting ready in November? We get ready to go into November. We're at the end of the year.
Yeah, we're getting there, and we're getting to the point where you can still make adjustments that will affect 2024. And before you run out of time, people say, "Why are you doing a year end at the end of October?" Well, you need time to adjust these things. You can't wait until January and make changes that are going to affect 2024. You need to do it now and be prepared so you can close 2024 happily, and also you'll be ready for 2025. That's the most important things. It's a bunch of things you're going to look at that we're going to talk about today: your tax deductions, charitable contributions, your 401k, your IRAs, your health savings accounts, your flexible savings account. Those are all the things you need to take a look at. And we've always pushed to you, managing your money. It has to be like not a job, but it has to be a constant task that you put time and effort into to stay on top of things, to make sure you maximize every situation you're in. And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, dude, it's always good to reflect because the year end is just a good time to look back at all the events that shaped the last few months, and then prepare you for what may lie ahead, for maximizing your tax efficiency to planning for big life events. So the year end review can help you prepare to hit the ground running in 2025. So, set 2025 money goals, starting with your budget. Now,
Yeah.
it can help prevent both unwanted debt and regret for the new year. Need to explore your motivations around it because we get ready to move into the holiday spending, though, and that definitely dips into a lot of people's funds. We need to start understanding the motivations for your spending. It can help reinforce your boundaries and potentially establish new money beliefs and values that you can actually help increase your position that you're in. This is a good time, year end. For example, if you realize you overspend on gifts because you were taught by your parents that gifts were the best way to show your love, you may decide giving intangible gifts this time, or love is more important. So, I know there's a lot of pressure from the holiday and it disrupts everybody's budgets and their portfolios, but recognizing that these pressures exist and that marketing is doing its job can help you to remember that you have to stick to your own goals because they're going to be hitting you at the end of the year with all kinds of ways to be spending your money. So the question is, what are some practical action items for people to make as we approach the year end? Won't you start?
Well, the first step is always to review your financial plan. That's where you have to start. You look at your spending patterns and see if you are on track to meet your goals. And if you're not on track, you need to figure out why so you can fix it as soon as possible. And you got to do a complete review. If it's a surplus, you might want to stick that money and invest that money and up your investments. And if you have a deficit, then you need to make that adjustments too and change your spending habits. But you have to look at it and make some changes if you want things to be different. Look at your short-term goals, look at your long-term goals, see if they still make sense. And again, are you on track? If you need a financial professional, you might want to go over these things with that person to see if they have any suggestions. But you need to review and make changes to make sure you're on the track that you're trying to hit so you can hit the goals you're trying to hit.
And, review your employee benefits. Okay. Are you able to max out your 401k plan or your IRA for the people who are still working? Okay. You really need to look at this and really look at that table because a lot of times when you have 5% of your salary at the end of the year, 5% may not be the full maximum that you can match. And people don't know that. So you can either look at that, look at your 401k, and if you can put more money into it, then you might want to consider that because that's going to help you tax-wise and it's going to help you increase your assets. Now, if your employer matches contributions, will you contribute up to, at the minimum or at the company max? That's what I'm talking about. You need to review your allocation in like your thrift savings plans, your 401k plans. You need to look at the 403b plans. Are you happy with the ratios of stock, bonds, and other assets? Or do you need to rebalance? This is the time to do it. And right now, with the market being down, like Doe said, it's an opportunity not to jump out. It's an opportunity to jump in. Now, also, another benefit, you need to review your health, life, and disability coverage. Do you need to make changes? And this is the open enrollment periods are coming up of a lot of these things, and they will pass you. You can't wait until January, like Doe said. And health savings accounts. Have you maxed out? Are you enrolled in the flexible spending accounts? Do you need to use up any remaining funds? Because remember, if you don't use the remaining funds in the flexible savings accounts, you can't roll them over, and then you need to adjust. For the the maximum for the 401k this year, you all contributions is $23,000, and the catch up is $7,500. So you can put $30,500. The catch up is if you 50 years old and older. That's called the catch up. And you can put as much as $30,000, you all, $500. I think that's great, though.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people don't know this. Like I said, just because you max out your the matching, but they match you can contribute all the way up to $69,000. Okay, so you just don't have to stay at the 23,000. And that's something that people don't even really know about. The IRA now is up to $7,000 plus the catch up for if you are 50 and older is $1,000. So you could put $8,000. If you're not maxing out your contribution, consider at least increasing it. On an annual basis. Taxpayers can deduct contributions to a traditional IRA if they meet certain conditions. If during the year even the taxpayer or the taxpayer's spouse was covered by a retirement plan, the deduction may be reduced. So make sure you pay attention, or it could phase out until it is limited during, depending on your filing status and income. So, you need to look at the tax tables. If neither the taxpayer nor the spouse is covered by retirement plan at work, the phase outs of the deduction do not apply. So make sure you check with your provider. Health savings accounts. The contributions now are up to $4,150 for individuals. That has changed. Now, for individuals, for families, it's $8,300. And they got to catch up for health savings accounts. 55 and older, you can put another $1,000 in. And that's a great thing. Remember, you can roll the funds in the health savings account. If you don't use those, you can roll them over. So that's good to know. Now, the flexible savings accounts, these are qualified products, and the amount for 2024 is $3,200. Now, the maximum you can roll over for flexible savings accounts is $6,400. That has changed, right? So you look at that, because if you don't use that money, it goes. The maximum rollover limit is $6,400, like I said, and also they have flexible spending accounts for commuter parking benefits. It's now up to $3,800, and it's so many things we might be missing, Paul. The dependent care flexible spending account. A lot of people don't know about that. You can put up to $5,000 in there, and it's tax-free to earnings. So check with your human resources for these specific requirements.
Okay, the next topic is taxes, and Bob touched on it briefly, but this one's obviously near and dear to me, and it's so important. I always use the analogy. It's like trying to play a sport and not knowing the rules. You have to understand what you're able to do so you can take advantage of things that are in the tax code. And there's still time in the year for you to do some things to either lower your taxes or raise your deductions or increase your credits. And that's what we're going to talk about now. If you had any major investment losses, you got to look and see where you are. Take that into account when you look at how much income you have. See how much money you're going to make in total. And I don't know if you have the opportunity to defer some. If you're having a good year, you might want to defer some until next year. Maybe you'll have more ways to offset it. Or you may want to accelerate some income into this year if your earnings are such that you can afford to do that. Take a look at your bonuses. Look and see if you have any property sales, and look and see how that's going to affect your tax situation. Take a look at your charitable gifts and decide if you want to do something there, again, to lower your taxes. Look at your tax exemptions. Make sure you are having enough money withheld. The general rule for tax withholding is that you have to have either withheld the same amount you had withheld last year, or 90% of what your tax bill is going to be. And realize you have until April 15th of next year to contribute to an IRA. But if you're going to do a Roth conversion, it has to be done by the December 31st. And again, if you do a Roth conversion, there's a tax bill that you're going to get. Make sure you take that into account. You might want to look at tax harvesting. If you have some gains, you might look to see if you have any loss that you can use to offset those gains. Okay, that's something else you might want to consider. Again, I talked about accelerating your deductions. For example, if you don't have enough in 1 year for your charitable contributions in order to claim a deduction, you might want to start doing your charitable contributions every other year. And so you put 2 years worth in 1 year, which would allow you to take the deduction, and your next year would have zero. Obviously, you're giving the same amount. You're just timing the payments to take advantage of the tax situations. Okay, and that's something else you need to take a look at. The other thing with your investment, You want to see if your asset allocation has shifted. If you had a lot of money in tech, it's probably done real well. And if you're a little leery about having too much invested in the stock market, you probably need to do an adjustment and take some of those gains out, because that would be a very large percentage of your total portfolio because of how well it's done. Look and see if you need to change your risk tolerance. Make sure you're still comfortable with where you are. Take a look at your capital gains. If you have mutual funds, you'll have to worry about capital gains distributions, in which case they catch up with all the gains and losses you've had during the year, and they'll hit you with a capital gains at the end of the year. Look at your tax diversification within your portfolio. And by that, I mean, take the opportunity to put your high reward, high risk items in a tax deferred account, and put your more conservative investments in an account that you have to pay taxes on. Because theoretically, the conservative things are going to have lower income. The high risk, high reward things are going to have high income. You want to defer that and let that grow as much as you can. Your conservative things, you don't mind paying taxes on. Look at the performance of your assets. Make sure they're doing what you want them to do. You may need to rebalance. You also may decide that something's not working for you and you want to do something different. The other thing you got to watch out for is there are 4 taxes that kind of sneak up on people, and make sure you don't get hit by those. And the 4 are: the first is the AMT, the alternative minimum tax, and that's usually it's usually for high wage earners. People who make a lot of money can end up not paying tax by the tax bracket, but they actually use a separate, not tax code, but a separate tax system to determine how much you owe. So if you're a high income person, make sure you take that into account when you're figuring out what your deductions are going to be. The other one is that net investment tax. And that's a tax for people over a certain income threshold. They have to pay a tax on their investment income. That's another sneaky one that may catch up on you that you may not be aware of. But take a look at that one. The third one is that IRMA tax. And we've talked about that before. If you're on Medicare, your actual Medicare payment is based on your income from 2 years ago. So you have to take that into account to see what your bill is going to be next year for Medicare. There's nothing you can do about that now because, again, it's based on your income from 2 years ago. But you might want to look at this year's income, because this year's income is going to determine how much you're going to owe 2 years from now. And finally, is a Social Security tax. If you join Social Security and making over a certain threshold, you will have to pay taxes on that. Again, make sure you take that into account when you sit down and look at where you expect to be as far as withholdings in your tax bill, so you don't get caught short and you aren't paying penalties to the IRS. So a lot to look at, but again, you got to understand the rules if you want to maximize playing the game.
I want to talk a little bit about reviewing your investments. You touched on quite a bit of it, but you need to really look at the asset allocation and has it shifted, like Doe said. And you need to also determine if you're going to have some large capital gains for the tax year. Another thing you need to also, I like to say, you might need, if you haven't been in the market, you might want to consider getting into the market, because this is a good time to do it. You know, the end of the year, and a lot of times, though, is this a true statement, though? Does it seem like the end of the year and the beginning of the year, the economy tends to slow down?
Yeah, everything is slow. I used to hate January because you start paying FICA again if you maxed out. You get all your bills from Christmas. It's dark when you go to work. It's dark when you come home.
Right.
Nobody ever takes vacation in January. Not often anyway, especially in the accounting field, because there's so much end of year stuff to do. So yeah, I always hated Januaries, man.
So, and I want to bring up another investment, 529 plan. Now, some of you kids might be already old out, but a lot of you have grandkids, and some of you on here do have kids. There's young people on here too, not just all retirement people. But the question is, have you contributed to a 529 plan? If you have one, you need to contribute to it. And if you have young individuals, you need to consider opening up a 529 plan for the end of this year. Now, the other thing is, Dope talked about it, you need to make sure you have the tax diversification in your portfolio. And that you just need to look at everything, and Dope covered that pretty good, but that's another investment strategy. Outperforming and underperforming assets might leave your portfolio unbalanced. So be sure to review the asset allocation and remember, if you need to, rebalance. Make a note of all your capital gains. And another big one, as far as especially the whole tax policy changes. Be aware, because they end from right, Dope. Well,
it's next year.
It's next year, 2025. But I was wondering, did they make a statement about that?
No, but big change is next year. And if Trump wins, it probably won't change. Or it'll probably be extended. Right. And if Harris wins, it'll probably change.
I think she still might keep it, other than though she talked
no,
about.
There's no.
That's right. Because she said for under 400,000.
Right. It's going to change if she wins. Yeah, we'll talk about that next week.
That's a good point, though. You're right, though. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, but one more thing, the 529, you can also use that if you're going back to school. You can if you decide to go back and invest in yourself, you can put money away and take advantage of the tax code for yourself or your spouse, in addition to your kids. Okay.
Yeah, good one, though. Forgot about that. Yeah, thank you.
And so next we want to talk about credit and debt. And then you guys probably get tired of hearing us talk about that. But you got to stay on it if you want to build wealth. You got to look at your loans, check out all your loans, make sure you are paying a favorable rate. If you can get a lower rate, you need to go do that. They'll probably be slow to lower rates, but as they get lower, try to reduce your interest payments if you can. Are you meeting your goals as far as paying down your debt? Is that going in the right direction for you? You might want to take a look at it and prioritize paying all your high interest debt. Look for consolidation loans. Some of the balance transfer 0% deals are decent if you're disciplined and can pay it off before it kicks back to the regular rate. But you got to be diligent about looking at interest rates because they change, and you want to minimize the amount of money you're paying in interest. Always look at your credit cards. Make sure you're taking advantage. You know me, I don't buy anything unless somebody give me some money. Make sure your credit cards are serving your needs and you're getting out of them what you need to, and you are using them instead of letting them use you. Okay? Look at your debt in addition to comparing that with your other goals, which is savings and investing. Look at the whole plan and make sure your debt is not keeping you from reaching your goals. I've already been looking at all the terms on your debt to make sure you are minimizing your interest payments. If it's in your best interest to refinance, look at that. That might be able to help you. And if you're using credit cards, make sure your credit cards are doing for you what they should be. And there's always new plans coming out. So take a look, stay on top of your debt game.
That's pretty big, though. That's pretty big. I want to talk about the next thing on my list is estate planning. Excuse me. And reason why we talk about that, for some of your younger people, you're probably wondering why are we bringing that up. It's important. You need to review your will, or if you have a trust in the last 5 years or more currently, if there has been a recent life event, marriage, divorce, death, incapacity, or change in family dynamics. You need to look at those. Look at the beneficiaries and the trustees. I had a lot of friends, a lot of people. I've been to a lot of funerals lately. A lot of people have people who have passed away still as their beneficiaries. So you need to really look at that. You know, so look at those life transitions, you all. I know it's tough, but the last year that could affect your will or trust. Those things can affect it.
Hey, Bob, let me jump in right there just to remind people, and I've been on my kids about this. I'm not sure which ones have done it, but especially if you're single, you need to make sure somebody can make decisions for you if you become incapacitated. And that's something that young people don't think about, but it does happen. You'll need somebody to make decisions for you. So you might need a power of attorney, you might need a medical directive, and that's not something that young people think about, but it is something that they should, because if you end up incapacitated, you won't have anybody making decisions for you, at least legally, because you haven't designated someone to do that. So consider that even if you're young, make sure you have someone that can make decisions for you and can handle your business if you become incapacitated.
Last one I just want to make mention is the gift tax exclusion. That's monetary gifts. You can gift up to $8,000 now. It went up from 16,000, 8,000 to any recipient. They are federally tax free.
That's right. Yeah. And that's nice if you can give that kind of money to your kids.
Exactly.
And if they have a spouse, you can double that. So you could actually do 32,000 if there's a spouse involved. So, and grandkids and everybody else. Finally, insurance, something that needs reviewing. It's so sad that all those folks in Western North Carolina, I think 99% of them didn't have flood insurance. So it's going to be a tough road for them getting back. But look at your policies and look at your coverages. Make sure they are sufficient for what you have. Go out and get cost comparisons. Make sure you're paying as little as you can. And insurance is an easy comparison because you know the value of the house, you know the amount of insurance you want, you know the amount of the deductibles you want. And so you can just make your list, call another insurance agency. And there's actually a lot of online apps and things that will do those comparisons for you. You put those specific items in as far as what your value is, what your deductibles are, what level of coverages you want, and it will actually solicit offers from varying insurance companies. But you gotta cost compare to make sure you're not paying any more. There's no real value to having insurance with the same people if they're jacking your rates up every year. Now, some insurance companies will lower your rates if you don't have a claim. But again, you still may be able to find it cheaper with someone else. Look at things of value in your house. If you bought some jewelry, do you need to put that on your schedule for your homeowners to make sure that that's covered? If it's appreciated tremendously, like Bob's talking about the gold, if you have a lot of gold jewelry or a lot of gold in general, the value of it has increased by a lot. Some people in their insurance policy have riders that automatically increase the policy value. Take a look at it, make sure yours is covering what you need it to cover. Okay. Try to make sure you can get your hands on your insurance policy, look over it, and make sure it's where you should be. And Bob mentioned this, but on your insurance policy, look at your beneficiaries, make sure they're up to date, especially if you had a life event, birth, marriage, death, or whatever. And also take a look and see if you need more life insurance than you currently have. And you may need to buy more because your situation's changed, your goals have changed, your income has increased tremendously. You want to make sure your income flow stays the same if something was to happen to you and you were no longer able to earn that money, that your family wouldn't be affected. So if you need to increase your insurance, make sure you do that.
No, just want to give a little added little tip for the people who are FDIC retired people who receive life insurance from the FDIC, just want to remind you, when you turn 65, the amount of insurance that you had from the FDIC, if it's like, 100,000, 150,000, 90,000, at 65 in FDIC, your life insurance that you have drops to 25,000.
Ooh.
Yes, a lot of people don't know that though. And a lot of people, because they had, 2 times their salary, things at the FDIC. Just want to remind you all, look at that and review that, because some of y'all might be close, and 65, which drops down to $25,000. You need to really consider that. Another tip though, I did mention about investing. Just a tip, with interest rates kind of going downwards, which are down. We don't know if they're going to take them any lower. There are some schools of thoughts that, because a lot of people were taking advantage, as we said, of the high yield savings accounts. Something to consider, you might want to lock in those rates that you have now in like a CD, a 6-month CD or 1-year CD, because that way you lock them in, because if the rates go down any further, those rates that you were getting in those high yield accounts would definitely go down. Just something to think about. I'm not saying.
Yeah, and the only thing I add to that, Bob, you got to read the fine print, because a lot of them are callable. So make sure it's not callable, because if it is and interest rates drop, they'll say, hey, deal's over. So make sure that CD is not
callable though to everyone, please. Explain callable. They can.
Oh, let's say they give you a 5% CD and interest rates drop and current CDs are paying 4%, they can say, end of deal. We're calling it. We're not going to pay you 5%. This CD contract is over. They can decide to end the contract.
Yes.
If interest rates go down. So
yes.
Be aware. Read the fine print.
Read the fine print.
Question. Ask them, is this callable or not? If it's not callable, then you're locked in and you do indeed have a contract for the entire term. But if it's callable, interest rates go down, they can make a change. Then that's one of the reasons you may want to look at bonds, because if you have bonds and interest rates go up, your bonds are going to decrease in value. If interest rates go down, your bonds are going to increase in value. Right. And that's because if you're sitting on a 5% bond and interest rates are paying 4%, people are going to pay you a premium to buy something that's paying 5%. Right. So
once again, diversification.
Read the fine print.
And diversification at its best. Now, Joe, we covered a lot of information, as we normally do, but because it's the year end, you all, we know it was a lot of information, but it is pertinent information. And if you have any questions, please put it in the box. But let's do a little recap, Dope, for everybody, because that was quite a bit. And let's start with, I guess it starts with me. Review your financial plan. That was the number one, how we started out. It's so important. And for some of y'all, you need to create a financial plan. You know what I'm saying? We're assuming that you have a plan, but it's never too late. I don't care if you're in retirement, we living longer, we living like they say at least to 85, and if you're 65, 67, 70, just do the math. And it's good to have a plan. So if you have a plan, review it. If you don't, create one.
And this is a constant adjust as necessary. Take a look. This isn't, what's that old commercial, set it and forget it? Managing a portfolio does not follow that advice. There are times when you need to make adjustments. You're not changing every week. You're not changing every month. But if the situation arises, be willing to make the changes to keep you on your path.
Review your taxes and investments to avoid surprises. We told you the reason why it's so important. Make sure you review your tax situation, where you are, and where you are with your investments.
Yeah, and again, there's ways to maximize your charitable giving. You might want to consider every 2 years, like I mentioned, or even every 3 years. You're giving the same amount of money, but you're setting it up so that you can take advantage of the tax code. I've been looking into some things. They have some pretty neat deals out there for charitable contribution. I just got something from the University of Pittsburgh, and you can, for example, give them literally contribute 50 grand, and they will pay you 8 to 9% interest on that money as long as you're living. Okay. So you donate 50 grand to Pitt, you get to take some tax deductions, and they pay you as long as you are alive. Now, obviously, when you die, the money goes to them. But there are a lot of things out there as far as charitable contributions to maximize, take advantage of the tax code. If you have a stock that's appreciated tremendously, you don't want to sell that stock and then make the contribution. You can actually donate that stock and you will not have to pay that capital gain. Again, you have to know the rules to take advantage. If you don't want to take the time to understand the rules, hire someone to help you with the rules. But nothing hurts me more than seeing people not take advantage of things that are in the tax code that are available to you to do, that they are totally legal. You just need to take advantage of them, but you need to know about them before you can take advantage of them.
Maximize your employee benefits. That's your 401k, 403bs, your IRAs, your health savings accounts, your flexible spending accounts, your health plans. Look at that and maximize those benefits. If you're in a PPO or HMO, really look at that, and because it's open season right now, you might want to look at that.
And that's real important, Bob, because a lot of the advantage plans change. You really have to do your due diligence and list your doctors, list any medications you're on, look at any benefits they're giving you. Like I just did mine the other day, and my advantage plan this year gave us $800 towards health club memberships, but they eliminate that next year. And so those are the kind of things you have to look at. I mean, $800 for two people, that's $1,600. That'll come out of my pocket in 25 that didn't come out in 24. So of course I looked for another advantage plan that would cover that, but there weren't any. But you have to take the time, compare, and make sure your doctors are in the plan you want, the things that cost money are in the plan you want. It's a job. It's a job to maximize your wealth. You have to do these little things. And so to summarize it, this is an important step. This is very important for looking at your overall goals, looking at your performance, making adjustments, and again, maximizing things you can maximize. This is how you build wealth. It's not easy. It takes time, effort, discipline. But if you do these little things, you'll be better off. Trust me on that.
And you can do it. All it just takes, you all, is just a little bit of time and effort. You put time in a whole bunch of other things. It's so important, you all, that you do this year in review, because it sets you up for the new year, and it's constantly changes. Money, dope, is constantly after. When you eat, when you sleep, money is moving. It's up and down, and you want to be in the game and take advantage. Remember, our whole purpose, or our whole thought is with this show is we want you to maximize your wealth as much as you can, whatever that is. We don't care if it's a savings account with 2% or an investment in stock in NVIDIA. We just want you to do more than what you're doing, because we know inflation, the economy, it's a lot, and it becomes an albatross on people, and don't let people sleep at night. And we just want you to sleep better at night.
Yeah, and Bob, it's nice to think you can buy a stock like NVIDIA every year. It goes up, 10 times what you paid for it. That doesn't happen much, but it's all these little things lowering your insurance costs, taking advantage of taxes, using reward cards to get money back, taking discounts where you can get them. All those things add up. Making sure you're using all your benefits at your job. Those are, in and of themselves, it's not a lot of money. But when you add all that stuff up, it ends up being a lot of money. But it's little piece by piece that you have to build. Because, I mean, I don't know any stock that I can tell you to go buy that's going to go up 10 times its value. I wish I did. If I did, I'd buy a whole lot of it. But I just try to do the little things. And it's I always tell my kids, you got to make the layups. You know, think about basketball. You ought to make the layups. And to me, the layups are understanding the tax code, taking advantage of it, minimizing your costs on what you pay, and using reward cards to your advantage. Those are layups. Those are things that everybody should be doing if you just take the time to do them.
And so, dope, we be on here talking our hearts out, and we hope that you're taking some of the advice. For instance, like what Doe just said, we asked y'all a couple of shows ago to go out there and freeze your credit, you know, out there under the 3 credit bureaus. We hope you did it, because I'm telling you all, there's a lot of breaching going on with people's information these days. And we only have so many defenses. See, the name of the game is, you all, you can't stop it. To resist is futile, but you can prevent it. You can make it harder for them.
Or minimize. You can minimize it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can minimize it. Yeah, you can minimize it, and you can possibly prevent it. But you definitely, you know, it's almost bigger than us. But you got to do what you, like Doe said, you got to take the baby steps. You got to make the layups, and that's why we just hope that you all do something, because this is the last point I'm gonna make, Doe. Everybody knows that most Black people are risk adverse. A lot of people don't want to take the risks, but just remember this: not taking any risks is sometimes taking risks. Not doing anything, is equivalent sometimes to being risky.
There's a cost to not taking risks, I think, is what you're saying. And if you don't like risk, I can understand it. Not for me, obviously, because I'm the opposite end. But like we talk about the layups, if you can make 1% instead of making 1% more, you're going to be better off. You're going to have more money. You just got to do it. You got to take the little steps. That's how you build wealth. It's very, very seldom somebody wins the lottery or get 3 or 4 NVIDIAs or buy stocks that go up like crazy, or somebody leaves them a whole bunch of money. I don't know anybody that's happened to, but I do know a lot of people who have built wealth by being frugal, being disciplined, and taking advantage of every monetary situation they're in. And that's my motto. I try to win every financial transaction I make. I try to minimize what I pay, and maximize what I get. It's a thought process that I have. And everybody's not an accountant. Everybody doesn't have my financial background. But a lot of the things we talk about don't require either of those. It just requires you taking the time and doing it.
Yes, so we know we gave you an earful, you all, but we care. We care. That's why we do this show. And the last benefit, though, and this is a major plus. You can ask me or Doe anytime. Anytime. We said, if we don't know, we can find the answer. And if so take advantage of us. If you have a question about something we said or something we didn't say, because I like to see more of that, because I know some of y'all sit back and I talk to some of you all, and y'all tell me, oh man, Bob, some of that went over my head. Look, there is no stupid question. There's no dumb question. and you have us. This is the other thing, though. I don't think people really appreciate the availability that they have to us, because the issue with you all, with most people, we just don't know, and we just not have had the access to the information. That's the only difference between the wealth. Well, I mean, there's other major difference in the wealth gap, but one of them is mainly having access to the information. I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah, and Bob, not only do we care, but I mean, this may, I hope this doesn't come out the wrong way, but it worked for us. we're not telling you things that don't work. The things we tell you are the things we have done or mistakes we've made and wish we had done something different. But most of the things we tell you, we've done, and they've worked, and they've put us in a very good position.
So with that, just want to give roll call to all y'all wonderful people. Man, we love y'all so much, man. Dope. One day we're going to have like a retreat, a FITT Show retreat, where we get to meet some of these people, man. Because somebody brought that up to me, by the way.
And I wish we could do that. And I also wish somebody could share with us if anything if they've taken our advice on anything or done anything we told them to do, if they've saved money doing it. You know, one of these days I'm gonna show you guys all the money I've made on my credit cards, and I think you will be astounded if you knew.
Right.
Now, part of that means I spend a lot of money, but
and
also save a lot.
But like Snow said, it'd be nice for us to know if y'all just think we full of stuff. Our eyes are brown because we're full of stuff. We need feedback. We like to hear from y'all. Anything that you might have learned from us that you've actually applied or thinking about applying. It'll be nice to know. So roll call, Dope. Wonderful Modestine in Lexington, South Carolina. Oh, Rodney, I didn't think you made it. L. Madison Sr., the noteexperience.com. I didn't miss that you were on here. My sister Linda is on here today. Noli and Gloria are doing a prayer line conference call for their church today. God bless them. And they told me they wasn't going to be able to be on today. And Garnett, how you doing? And the wonderful and the vivacious now Edwards Doty, how are you doing now? Thank you for your comments as always. Garnett, Modestine, and that's everybody. And we know some people, a lot of people don't, I realize, do not, sign their name in. I find out later that they're on, and we like to thank everybody that's on. So, Dope, quote of the week. This quote, Dope, comes original because there's so much craziness with this election stuff going on. There's so much foolishness. And so this quote today applies to that. It is much better to be the king of the outhouse than to be a monkey in the palace.
Okay.
No, that was some deep talk, man. I took it. Well, see y'all next week. Love y'all dearly. 174th show next week. Thank you all and have a wonderful week. Peace. Good show, though.
Peace.